So I'm here with Ned Ward, who's come out to our office in Flemington, New Jersey, and you're telling us a story of Wonder Workshop. It's a relatively new company. Two guys engineers from Apple and Google.
Yep.
Is that right? And they decided they want to get into the programming business. We've seen and heard this story many times before, but you were telling me how they decided that a physical object was a better link to helping kids understand code and how code works.
Yes.
And so Wonder Workshop launched last fall.
Mm-hmm.
You've got one right there.
Yep.
Basically, in brief, it's a $170 to $300-ish, well, $250.
280 system. So it's a system, the base system, you can start with this Dash robot at $169.99. We add on other accessories, and you can get everything we make for $279.99, which is called our Wonder Pack.
All right, and there's 4 free apps. You download the apps in either your Android or your iOS device.
That's correct.
And you can then sync it with Bluetooth.
Yep, so syncing is super easy, and we went with Bluetooth just because we know a lot of parents don't necessarily want their kids messing around with Wi-Fi, getting into settings. So literally, it finds it automatically. I hold my finger down. When it's green, we're good to go. So this is Path. This is a program for pre-readers, and basically by drawing a path with my finger, and it could be as small or as big as I want, Dash, my little robot friend, is now going to follow that path. As the program levels up, it'll ask children to basically sequence different sounds in order, so they learn sequencing, they learn order of events, which again is one of the basics of programming, but it's also at a child-appropriate level. We then have other programs. We have a program called Xylo, which works with our xylophone attachment. We have Go, which is more of a simple sort of radio control program. But when kids are older, we have Blockly. And Blockly is our drag and drop language, similar to Scratch. We use Blockly just because we were able to get into the API and really customize it for ourselves. One of the things that we find is that a drag and drop programming language can be very powerful because you can do almost anything with it. And for some kids, that becomes incredibly liberating. For other kids, it's a little daunting. And so one of the things that we've added is we've added puzzles. And we added puzzles to make sure that every child that has Blockly can learn through a tutorial system all the different levels. So whether it's conditionals or adding new things like variables, we're going to walk them through a series of puzzles to show that they have mastery, but also we know that by having that guided play, it makes the free play more interesting.
Okay.
So for instance, here we can start on a puzzle, and it's something as simple as like driving school. So it's basically, hey, Dash needs some help to drive around. So it's going to show you through the whole tutorial system how to get through all these different parts of basically drag and drop programming. And part of this is that not only do we want to teach coding to children, we want to make sure that they gain confidence and self-reliance. So that if you give your child, Dash and a tablet, instead of coming to you to say, I don't understand how to program this, they can come back and say, look what I made with this program.
Okay.
And we think that's very important, just to build that into something that it also makes it a lot more fun. So, okay, so let's say we're going to press the start button. And again, very simple sort of drag and drop. So for instance here, it's going to say when you press start, basically make the sound of a car engine. So as you can see, if you master the task, it'll say good job, and then you can go forward, and it'll tell you for the next thing in terms of, okay, so now we're going to look into motion. And it'll go all the way through, so that now it's saying, okay, so you have to actually learn to move the brick. And you can see on all of these, we make it very visual. So for instance, with my finger I can do it, and then pedagogically it tells me, oh, you're moving 100 centimeters. I could decrease that and it'll tell me 20. Same thing with speed, so whether I want to go slow, fast, and then just with the drag and drop, I'm able to connect it on and press start. And there. And again, it gives you the feedback as well, tells you great job, and you can move forward.
Now, can you put your own sounds in the robot?
Yes, you can. So we have the ability to record 5 different sounds onto the robot, but it goes locally only from the iPad to your robot. So it doesn't go up in the cloud or anything, just transfers locally, very simple interface. So you can have
record through your microphone?
Yep, through the onboard microphone on your tablet.
Cool. That's cool.
So this is our launcher. So it's a fun way, again, just to add sort of a different way to play with Dash. And as you can see, the parts snap on very easily. It's basically 2 pieces. It's a head piece and then it's this back piece. And so right now we just have our robot debug app. It's going to be put into Blockly and Go in our new app that's going to be coming out. But just to show you sort of how it works, so we're going to launch a ball. But then I can load with the head, and just goes right back. Can launch again. There we go. So very repeatable in terms of the amount of power that it puts in. And so in the final version of the apps, there'll be not only the launch and load commands, but there'll also be an amount of power so that you can try to do different trick shots. So that you could have, for instance, a drink cup that you could sort of challenge your friends to see who can get the projectile in the right way, you know. So we also include these targets. The targets can be stacked on top of each other. The targets also happen to stack very nicely on top of Lego bricks. So we made them so that they were brick compatible, so that if you have a bunch of Legos or other brick compatible things, oops, you'll be able to stack on top of them so that you can build neat little structures, again, for whether it's target practice, but again, with the ability to move Dash around to figure out how far away do I need to be from something, how much force do I want to have as he launches the ball, excuse me. It just adds for some fun. And obviously, being able to launch projectiles is always fun for kids, but adding a little bit of the challenges makes it even more fun.
So Android, we could load this on one of the Android tablets as well as the, is it in Google Play?
It's in Google Play. And so we have on our website, we have a compatibility list. And so, as you know, not every Android tablet is the same. And so for ours, we have a couple of just different, ones that we've checked in the office. We haven't checked all of them. But a lot of the Samsung ones, the Galaxy tabs are fine. We just certified two of the Fuhu Navi tablets as well. And on iPad side, anything after an iPad 3 or an iPad mini, because we're using Bluetooth LE.
Okay.
So that's sort of the thing. And so we always ask people whether they're buying on our site or on Amazon, just check the compatibility to make sure that you've got the right iPad at home.
How long has Bluetooth LE been out?
Since like the iPad 3. So on that side. So relatively recently. And it was just one of the things that as we looked at the experience, just the connection experience on Bluetooth, we wanted to stay away from Wi-Fi, especially for younger kids.
So I'm just gonna, if I can pick him up.
Absolutely.
I just want to let Mike get a close-up look at what's here. We've got a power button, which is where all things begin.
Yes.
We have collision sensors, which are these the physical things on the side, or this is where things snap in?
Those are things snap in. So the black bars horizontal on the front, and then on the rear are the collision sensors.
And obviously an eyeball or lots of LEDs, and that really gives them a great look. Does this one do anything, or
you can change colors? So you can change colors on the lights, so that if you want to just have different differentiation. So if you have a lot of them, for instance, in a classroom, you can change those to have a different look. It's also
cool.
something that you could just in programming. If let's say you get something, you want to change the emblem on the front to green or red to indicate that you've either mastered something or not, you can do that.
He's also pretty heavy. Underneath here, 2 big wheels and a turner wheel for steering. And on the back, what are these 2 little lights here?
Those are also IR sensors, so those also, it can detect things behind it as well. That so that if it's backing up, it'll know that if it's going to back up into something.
This is the all too critical charging port, which is nicely, you can see it, you can find it, which is nice. There's a little hole, there's little holes right here. Are these microphones?
Those are the stereo microphones. So there's actually 3 microphones, so it can triangulate where a child is in a room. So if you have 2 children and one's calling it, the robot can turn towards the child who's talking, or it can actually drive towards the child who's talking.
And then there's some buttons on the top. What are these for?
So the white button is sort of the main button, and that's usually the one that you'll use to press things, but the other 3 are programmable buttons that you can assign to do different things.
Okay.
So that with Blockly, the programming language, you could say, if I press button 2, make it do this. If I press button 3, make it do this. So that you can have multiple sort of activities that you could have within one program.
And this is called, what is this guy called?
Dash.
This is called Dash.
This is Dash. And
his little brother
is
or sister.
Dot.
Is Dot.
Dot.
Okay, and let's look at Dot really fast. Dot's obviously cheaper.
Yep.
Doesn't move.
Doesn't move, but has lots of control. So it also has IR. It has sound. It also has the 3 buttons on top.
Can turn this way?
Well, actually, you can. Here, we'll take the brick connectors off. Dot comes with a stand, but you can actually pop it off the stand, and then you have sort of a nice spherical thing. When they're on after a couple of minutes, and if you haven't done activity with them, they start yawning, start making a nice little sound. And again, it's to really sort of make them more engaging to children as they play with them. And then after a while, it'll just turn off to help save power, go into low power mode.
So in terms of sensors, it's got sound, and can it sense motion?
It can't sense motion, but it has IR beacons, so that basically Dash can locate Dot with the IR beacons.
So they communicate with each other.
With IR,
They
yeah.
don't, okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was wondering about where those came from. And is there physical? You said if they run into something, where are those?
So that's with these IR collision sensors. So in the front. So for instance, I could program it and say, if I'm going to run into something, stop.
So that's IR.
That's IR.
Okay, that's not physical.
Right. No, correct.
Okay, I think we've got everything we need to understand this. There's these pieces are sort of exclusive as well. You really need these to be able to snap into the side, but then you can put Legos.
Yeah, Legos or the
You
tech
put
mix
Legos
and
in.
stuff like that. Yeah, and we wanted to do that because we wanted the robot to become self-assembled, so it's ready to play. But if you wanted to play and add more, these allow you. These brick attachments allow you to use what you probably have in your house already, which is most children have Legos or Lego compatible bricks, and then you can basically add on and build different things either aesthetically or for different purposes. So especially with Technic, where you start having pivot points, because you've got a fixed point on the base and you've got a head that moves. We've had people that built like a cookie dispenser out of Lego Technic, using things to make sort of like a boxing robot, fun stuff like that. I mean, it's limited only by your imagination.
All right, great. Well, that's a great overview of this. Let's go take it upstairs and have show it to some kids.
Yep.
And we'll see what they have to say about it.
That sounds great. So my name is Ned, and I'm with Wonder Workshop, and we make these cool little robots. They're called Dash and Dot, and you can actually control them with code and a bunch of different apps. So I've got on an iPad, but it works on iPad or Android, and we have different apps. So for instance, we're going to start with just an easy app, which, again, too easy for you guys, but I want to show you. This is called Path. Now with Path,
Wait a second. Make you feel a bigger path.
there we go. Oh, there we go. So connecting to the robots is super easy. It uses Bluetooth, so you don't have to mess with Wi-Fi or ask what the password is, because now it's connected. Now if I draw a path with my finger, it's going to follow the path. Up. Now recognize that it bumped into something, so it wants to know, do you want me to keep pushing through or should I reset? So what do you think?
Push.
Yeah, I agree. So it's going to keep going until it comes right back to where it started. So this is for younger kids really, but as you go through this app, it'll ask you to basically put things in different orders. So put sounds in different orders, so kids learn sequencing, which is a big part of learning how to program. But I heard you guys play with Scratch, right?
Yes.
All right, well, let's show you our version of Scratch, because we looked at Scratch and said Scratch is cool, but if there's a way that we can make it easier for some kids to learn. So we have a thing called Blockly. Blockly is a lot like Scratch. Dash is so excited about it, he can't even wait. But with it, you basically can take commands from the side and just snap it on, and then when you're ready, hit start, and it's going to go. So you can build this as complex as the programs you guys are building in Scratch, but it controls the robot. So that makes it kind of cool, is that actually everything that you do controls the robot, as opposed to just being on the screen.
So in other words, that's kind of a sprite.
Yeah.
Yeah, so instead of a sprite, you've actually got a robot. And the robot has sensors in the front, so it knows if it's going to bump into something, as well as on the back. It's got microphones all the way around, so that actually it would know if you're talking versus you. And you could actually have it look towards you or actually drive towards you. It has, you can record sounds, so you can record 5 different sounds from your tablet onto the robot and use them.
Yeah, but you can't turn it on into John's head.
That's true.
Kids are
John's
doing
right
it to John's head.
John's right over there.
Well, in that case.
But you could have John's voice come out of it.
You could have John's voice come out of it. Yeah, no, absolutely. Right. You could be in another room and then drive it in.
Is that easy to do to really quickly make your voice come out of it?
Sure.
It's not here.
Here, we'll do this back in this, let me see, we'll do it in Go. Make it easy.
So like, in theory, on Friday, you can have the robot roll up to your parents and say, "Hi, Mom and Dad,"
Yep.
with your voice. That could be pretty
Wow.
All right, so we're gonna
Look
hear.
at you.
cool. So get really quiet.
No.
Guys, we're gonna record.
All right.
Oh, wait,
Shh. All right, so can you say coding is fun?
coding is fun.
All right. So that's gonna transfer it. So it's just doing it over Bluetooth.
Coding is fun.
There you go.
I think we should give Ned a round of applause. It's hard to make stuff work when you're in front of an
I
audience.
think it's worth it. What do you use that for?
So Dot is a separate robot, and Dot has sensors. So Dot has sensors that you could basically put it off in a different part of the room. And then with Blockly, you could program Dash to find it, because with the IR beacons, it can locate it. But also you can do conditional things and say, when I shake Dot, or when I toss Dot in the air, make Dash move. So it allows you to have different levels of programming. So, but we also just added a brand new accessory for Dash. Do you guys want to see it?
Yes.
You were the first kids to see it. So literally, it just came to the office, and so it is a catapult. You guys are smart. Well, of course you're smart. That's why you're here.
They are smart.
So this is and guess what we called it? We thought about it. So we call it catapult, and then we said we're going to call it launcher, because basically what it does is it launches things. So I'm going to just put it right here, and just so you guys can see.
Whoa.
So this doesn't even really look like the regular program. So this is called the Robot Debug app. So this is actually what our programmers use when they're actually like beta testing new features or trying to look at stuff. So it doesn't look very pretty like an app, but it has all the cool features, and more importantly, it has the launch button. Because when I press launch ball,
It doesn't work. Oh, it does work.
a little bit of delay. But launching one is cool, but I really want to launch another one, but I need to load it first, right? So we can send a command and say load.
Oh. Whoa.
Launch another one. And then we can load the third one. And we can launch it again.
So suspenseful.
So cool.
Yes.
That's basically, there's no like, this is like a beta, like prototype drive it into assembly launch and just start. It's not actually released downstairs.
It's not released to the public, that's right. So this is like a developer application. So it's not something that like kids would get to play with. But it's until we actually incorporate the launch commands into the regular programs, this is what we can use to demonstrate the program. But when it's finally in it, there'll be 4 different commands. There'll be launch, which is what you saw there. There'll be load left and load right, which is just by turning its head. And then there'll be another one for power. Because as you can imagine, right now it's launching it pretty far. But you could have a contest where you could have like a solo cup. And you and your friends could see who could get the most balls into a solo cup. Now you might do that by, you might move back, or you might vary the power on how much Dash moves his head so that you can actually learn physics in terms of that.
Oh, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, so pretty cool? Yes?
Yeah, I would like to say, is there any other robots that have sold like Mick or Dot or Dash, and
Mhm.
this is basically the next level of this. And I think it could be sold for about $400 maybe.
I like your thinking. I like your thinking. Yeah, it's one of those things that because that, for instance, you guys are all doing Scratch, so you're at like a higher level, but there are a lot of kids that haven't done coding yet, and so we want to make sure that, like that program where you're just moving your finger around, for younger kids, that gets them sort of interested in saying, oh, this is kind of cool, you know, I can play with robots, I can do this. And then Blockly, which is our version of Scratch, we're actually going to have like a whole tutorial level system. So again, teach them how to use each one of those blocks so that if they don't know quite how to use it, they can learn how to use it, be more confident, and then they can build really cool stuff. But yeah, no, it is kind of like the next generation of stuff. And the nice thing is that because you can do stuff with programming, you can really build whatever you want to do to how to do whatever. So whether it's like solving a maze, going through a puzzle, or just, bringing you something, or chasing the cat, because that's what the launcher is really good at. It allows you to do things like that. And we give puzzles and we give lots of different ideas on our website and on YouTube on things that you can try to do. But we also have a lot of kids sending in neat ideas of stuff that they've come up with on their own, being able to program with Dash and Dot.
You could fight vampire kittens with that.
Yes, you could.
I'm just telling you, it's not a
It's
joke.
him. It's not. He likes being funny and stuff.
It's pretty cool,
You never
right,
know.
guys?
It's a part of it. It's not real.
It's not, you wouldn't want to take it into the bathtub. If it got, if it got damp, it'd be okay. But in general, electronics don't like water.
Yeah.
You download the app. What are the apps called?
It's under Wonder Workshop, so there's Go, Blockly, and Path.
So we download they're free.
They're 4 free apps. There's also Xylo, because there's a xylophone that you can make the robot actually play music with a xylophone.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
I already installed them on my iPad, so we could use that to drive around. See, this could be another thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's, that's a good question. So we have one of the programs that's compatible with iPhone, but because we wanted to have space for kids to program, they work on tablets for the other 3 apps. Yes?
Did you say you were with Apple?
No, so our 2 founders, one started at Amazon, and he developed a coding, basically, payment system, like a software payment system that he sold to Google. And he was at Google, and he said, you know what, I want to teach kids how to code. And he started working on that. And at first, he was just working on something like software only, just on like a tablet. And what he realized is, like, for 5 to 6-year-olds, they weren't necessarily understanding, like, the cause and effect of the programming. But when the program was controlling a robot, little kids were able to get it a lot better. And so then he had a friend who had worked at Apple on a bunch of like the iPods, and he said, hey, can you help me? We want to do this thing where we teach kids coding with robots connected to tablets. And that's when the company started in 2012 and kept going.
How old are the 2 guys who started this company?
The 2 guys started the company are in their early 40s.
The early 40s.
Yep. Yes?
Are any of the apps compatible with Kindle Fire?
That's a good question. So Kindle is a forked version of Android, so it's not that, so we don't support that yet, just because we're a very young company, so it's tough for us to even to support both Android and iPad, but that's one of the ones that we're looking at. We're also looking at maybe doing a web-based version, so it could work for Kindle, it could work for Chromebooks, it could work for Surface, sort of a lot of those
Yeah,
other
like a
ones.
website that controls it.
Yeah.
We'd be up for Chromebooks. I mean, John, you've got a question.
Yes, so far this only works for iOS and Android devices, and it's
Correct.
limited to the tablet versions, so like iPad, Galaxy Tab, etc.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and so if you go on our website, we have a compatibility section as well as like on Amazon that lists which tablets. So on Apple iPads, it's pretty much any iPad after iPad 3,
I see.
because the first ones don't have Bluetooth LE. On the Android side, we have a bunch that we've tested. Other ones, they may work, they may not, just depending on the processor power and other things. But for instance, we just qualified 2 of the Fubu Navi tablets, which are, great inexpensive tablets. They're ruggedized for kids. So we're always trying to test new tablets, but as a startup, we can't buy like every tablet out there. So it is tough because there's some people like, oh, I just got this new Asus tablet and does it work? And it's like,
And then
it's sometimes, the cost of the tablet, can be related to what you get inside of it.
now, what about the platform versions? Like, is it compatible with like iOS 6, 7, or 8, or like Android? Like,
Yeah, so with Android, it is KitKat, I think, was it 4.4.1 and above? It's basically KitKat and above, it's compatible with. On the iOS side, I believe it is 7.1 and above.
so,
Yes,
How durable are these things? Like, if you dropped Dot right now, would it be?
like that? Yeah,
oh,
they're toy tough. Hmm?
Oh, that like hurts a little bit.
It hurts a little bit, but they're designed, again, we do drop testing, we design them because we know that with younger kids, it may get.
Especially with Dash, because they like do a pack and then it falls off the
Right.
edge.
Or if you're driving it along and it went into the wall, that stuff does happen sometimes. So we have to make sure that the toys are really tough because we want them to be durable.
Are they waterproof? No.
Not necessarily waterproof, so not a lot of electronic stuff is, unless it says specifically like that it's really waterproof. So you always want to be careful. And these are really meant to be used indoors. but not on the top.
Do you guys, what do you guys think? You like it?
I like it. I think it's
Like it?
worth it.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Yes.
You know, yeah, this is actually a good product because most of these like robot things, like a Furby or something else, like usually all you can do is just like play around with it and that's it. But this can do a lot more.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's the idea is that.
This official product, it releases in October.
Well, no. So right now, like Dash and Dot are available. So they're available like at Amazon. You can go to like Apple stores and they have them. And on our website, the launcher, like this very cool launcher accessory, this comes out in October.
Guys, let's give Ned a round of applause. How do you think? Give him a thumbs up or thumbs down. How did he do in his demo?
Liked it?
I think he
Thank
got
you.
a lot of thumbs up.